Hello and welcome to Katrina's Creations. This is Christmas in July. Today is July 8th, which means we are going to be opening package number 6 because this is the 6th day. So here we go. This is number 6 and we'll get this open. While I fight this to get this open, I will tell you what is coming up on the rest of the video. This is a vintage film of mine. This was done about 5 years ago. So you're going to see what I looked like 5 years ago when I had long frizzy gray hair and weighed quite a bit more. It is a clip of the history of crochet. Some of you who've been a long-time viewer have seen this. But yeah, that's what we're going to be learning about today is the history of crochet. I keep saying I need to bring scissors up. Have I done it? No. Okay, here we go. This one is especially pretty because y'all know I love purple. This is all different shades of purple, and it looks like there's a little bit of red in there too. No, it's like a rosy red that's in here. This is called Dancing Sugar Plums. Yes, that fits it. Dancing Sugar Plums. So that is my yarn for today. Now, if you stay tuned, you're going to see the clip from, like I said, Vintage Katrina of the history of crochet. I thought it would be ideal for me to do something about the history of crochet. But before, let me tell you about what I'm wearing. This is a crocheted shawl. It is called the Tegna. It is by Johanna Lindahl. And here's what it looks like. I'll hold it up close. And it has tassels. It's supposed to have 3, but I just did 2. It took about 2 skeins of yarn, so I think it was between 800 and 1,000 yards to do this. And it is a free pattern, and I'll put the information about it somewhere here if you want to go over and make one for yourself. So now let's get started. In the English, French, Belgian, Italian, and Spanish languages, they call what I just showed crochet. However, in Holland, it is called haken. In Denmark, it's called hakeling. In Norway, it's called hekling. And in Sweden, it's called virkning. I put the spellings up as we go because I probably totally butchered how to pronounce those. But anyway, it has various different names depending on where you are from, but it's commonly called crochet. It was developed sometime during the 1500s. It was known as crochet lace in France, and it was known as chain lace in England. However, there are examples of possible crochet techniques or similar techniques that date earlier than that, that are in Arabia, South America, and China. There was different variations. They have never been able to definitely say it's crochet, but the techniques lean toward the crochet. There is an early form of crochet. It was called tambouring. And what it was a like an embroidery hoop, and you had fabric stretched over the top, and then you had small, tiny little needles, like what you would crochet your doilies with, like the real tiny, fine needles that you would pull material or pull the yarn up from underneath and pull it into loops, and then chain those loops together along the top of the fabric. And so it was forming a chain stitch basically on top of embroidery material. Eventually, they got to the point where they removed the fabric and were just doing the chaining. And at that point, it was called crochet in the air. Crochet became officially called crochet when a French woman, Mademoiselle, and I'm probably going to totally butcher this one too, Reggio della Branchaudière, she translated bobbin lace patterns into crochet patterns. Those were the very first crochet patterns that were written. And she also claimed to have invented Irish crochet, which is a little bit different technique. She wrote hundreds and hundreds of patterns. And like I said, the first patterns were written by her. Now, during the Irish potato famine, which took place from 1845 until 1850, crocheting became a cottage industry, and many families, after they had done their farming for the day, would sit in their cottages by firelight and do crochet, and they would be not crocheting what we typically crochet today, but they would be crocheting the fancy lace that would go on the garments of the day. And those embellishments like the neck, you know, the lace around the neck, the lace around the sleeves, things like that, that was all crocheted. They would then get paid for doing that, and then those would be sewn onto the garments that the upper class people were wearing. But it helped support many, many families during the Irish potato famine. Many of those same women and even men and children who were doing those crochet to sustain their families eventually immigrated to other parts of the world. And when they did, they took that skill with them, and that's how it spread mainly to the North American area. One German publication that was done in 1847 has you only crocheting on the right side. In other words, if you were crocheting in the round, you were always on the right side. However, if you were crocheting something flat, like say an Afghan, the technique was you would crochet all the way across from the right to the left, and when you finished, you would cut your yarn and then begin again at the other side. Can you imagine all of the ends to weave in? It just wasn't done where you would flip your work and crochet on the back side of the work. It was only done on the right side at that point. Today, unless indicated when we're doing a pattern, we automatically go through both loops of a stitch. However, that was not the norm originally. Up in the 1800s, the standard was to go through the back loop only. It was unusual to go through both loops of the stitch. So that has changed. And the earliest written patterns, like I said, were written by this French woman, and that was in 1824. Now, Tunisian crochet is also it's kind of a mix of crochet and knitting. It was very popular in the Victorian era. It creates a denser fabric. It was used, like I said, during the Victorian era. It was used during the Victorian era. And it almost disappeared by the 1920s. It was almost a lost craft. It was revived in the 1970s, especially in the U.S. It is still done today. In fact, I have Tunisian crochet hooks. I have a whole set of them. And you can still find, contemporary Tunisian crochet books and things like that. It's just not as popular as knitting or crochet. And like I said, it's kind of a mix between the two. If you're not familiar with what a Tunisian crochet hook looks like, it can look two different ways. It can look like a straight knitting needle with a hook on the end, or it can look like a crochet hook, your traditional crochet hook, but it has a long cord attached with a bead at the end. That's the type I have. So you basically load your stitches onto the hook and then pull the stitches back off again, similar to broomstick lace crochet. So that is just a brief history of the history of crochet. And if you've enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up.
And don't forget to enter the Christmas in July fairies. You have a few more days to be able to get entered in that before I do the drawing. So thanks so much for watching. The link to the Christmas in July fairies will be at the end of the video. Thanks a lot, everybody. Bye.